butterfly. You are now listening to the Wholelistic Soul Care Session podcast, the podcast where faith meets holistic wellness and healing becomes a whole life practice. I'm your host, JC Morgan, soul care coach, clinical herbalist, holistic nutritionist. In each session, we're going to tend to the whole you. That's mind, body, spirit, and soul through God's word, holistic health, and the kind of honest community that makes real transformation possible. This is a safe space. This is a growing space. And this is your reminder that we were not made to just survive. You were made to be whole. So pull up a chair, pour yourself something warm, and let's get into it. Before we dive in, I'm a holistic nutritionist, clinical herbalist, holistic health coach, not a medical doctor. So everything shared in the podcast is for educational and informational purposes only, and it's not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or condition. Always consult with your licensed healthcare provider before making any changes to your health routine. Now, let's go. Hello, little butterfly, and welcome in. And I mean that genuinely. Whether you stumbled upon this episode or someone sent it to you or you've been a part of the Soul Care Squad for a while and you finally decided to press play on something a little longer than a reel, I'm glad you're here. Before we get into everything I planned for you today, I want to just do a quick heart check because I want to make sure the right people feel seen before I even start talking. So, let me ask you something. Have you ever bought a supplement because someone in the internet told you it was good and then you just hope for the best? Have you ever stood in the herb section of a natural food store and felt completely overwhelmed, or like there's so much information but none of it actually tells you what to do with your specific body and your specific situation? Have you ever Googled a health symptom at 11 p.m. at night and you ended up down a rabbit hole that left you more confused and afraid than when you started? Have you ever felt like a doctor just does not have time for you? Like your concerns get a 7-minute appointment and a prescription that you may or may not need or that you may or may not can afford, and then you get sent on your way, still not understanding what's actually happening inside your body? If any of those hit, this episode is for you. Honestly, everything I do is for you. My name is JC Morgan. I'm a clinical herbalist. I'm a holistic nutritionist, a holistic health coach, and a soul care coach. Today, I want to do something I have not done in a while, and I just want to sit down, take a breath, and just talk to you. No agenda, no performance, just me, what I know, why I do this, and an invitation for you to learn alongside me. So, get comfortable, grab your tea, and I do mean that literally, go get something warm. We're going to be here for a little while. And think by the time we're done, you're going to walk away knowing something real. Let me introduce myself properly. Not in the way I do in a 3-sentence bio, but for real. I'm Jalika C Morgan. Most people know me as JC. I was born and raised in New York City, and I have been playing in Houston, Texas for the past 11 years. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I'm a minister. I'm a student. I'm a community servant. I'm a creative. And I'm a practitioner who genuinely loves people. I hold 4 roles in my practice that work together to serve the whole person. So let me walk you through each one, because I think a lot of people hear these titles and they either do not know what they mean or they think that it's all the same, and it's not. So we'll start with, I'm a clinical herbalist. That means I study and I understand and I apply medicinal plants in clinical practice. Not in a hobbyist way, in a professional, research-backed, client-centered way. I'm a candidate for registration with the American Herbalist Guild, which is a gold standard for professional herbalism here in the United States. That means I'm being held to a standard of practice that most people who call themselves herbalists on the internet are not. No shade. Just being real. I'm a holistic nutritionist. That means I look at what you eat through the lens of how food functions in the body, and not just the calories or the macros, but how specific nutrients interact with your organs, your hormones, your inflammation levels, your gut microbiome. I'm a candidate for the National Association of Nutritional Professionals certification. So, I look at food as information that the body receives and responds to. And that changes everything about how I advise. I'm a holistic health coach. That means I work alongside you, not above you, not before you. I assist you. I don't tell you what to do. I offer advice. I help you find the answers that you're looking for from within, because sometimes we know, we just can't recall. Right? So my job as a health coach is not to give you a list of things you should be doing. My job is to understand your whole life and to help you understand it. We'll learn to understand your stressors and your history, your goals, your barriers. And I help you build sustainable practices that actually fit in your real world. So I'm also a candidate for the National Board for Health and Wellness Coaching. And I plan to sit for that in the next few months. God willing, because it's not cheap. And lastly, I'm a soul care coach. I like to say the soul care coach. This one is close to my heart. As a soul care coach, I tend to the spiritual, emotional, mental dimensions of a person's health. The parts that conventional medicine often does not even acknowledge exist. Because you can eat all the right things, you can take all the right supplements, and still be unwell if your soul is carrying wounds that have never been tended to. I work at the intersection of faith and wholeness, and it's some of the most sacred work that I do. Together, these 4 roles allow me to see you as a whole person, not a diagnosis, not a symptom cluster, not a case file, a person made in the image of God. So that's with a body, a mind, spirit, and soul. All 4 deserve care. That is the foundation of everything I do, and that's holistic care. Sorry. Now, I want to talk about something I do not think gets said enough in the holistic health space, and I'm going to say it plainly. I did not wake up one day and decide to call myself an herbalist. This, so you can see, this did not happen overnight. This did not happen because I read a few articles, read a few books, watched some YouTube videos, and printed up myself a certificate. This happened because I made a decision with very little money, with a full life already happening around me, and boy, was it happening, with a family to take care of, and a church to serve, and a community to show up for. I decided to go back to school and do it the right way. And let me tell you what that actually looked like so you can understand my plight. It looked like late nights after everyone else in my house was asleep, sitting on the floor or on my couch or in the bed or at my desk with textbooks open and notes everywhere, trying to understand biochemistry, plant constituents, and client protocols, topics I had never formally studied before. Well, I was also being a wife, a mother, a minister, and a person trying to keep it all together. And was I trying to keep it all together? Because I've had some moments where I've got to very, 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 very deep lows because life was happening. It also looked like tuition I had to trust God for because I didn't have the money to do it. Thank you, financial aid. I'm going to have to pay back one day. So, repeatedly, I had to trust God for the money because this program cost real money, and I am not a wealthy woman yet. Maybe God will bless me one day. We'll see. I'm a regular person who had a calling and decided to honor it, even when the budget did not line up with the vision. It looked like studying for board exams while managing everything else that life was throwing at me. It looked like imposter syndrome at 2 a.m, telling me I was not smart enough, not experienced enough, not the right kind of person to be doing this. It looked like crying over assignments and crying over clients and crying over clinicals being so hard and crying over the gap between where I was and where I felt I was called to be. It looked like being a student in a formal biology program. Mind you, I never thought that I would even be doing anything to do with science, but here we are. And this was all while running 2 businesses, serving at my church, and trying to take care of my own health at the same time. So, 2 years, literal blood, because I bled while trying to cut dried mushrooms because it is tough, and the knife that I had wasn't, I guess, sharp enough. So, sweat, money, real money, and literal tears. I say that not for sympathy. I say it because I want you to understand what stands behind the work that I bring to you. Every protocol I give a client, every monograph that I write, and I've written a few, every class that I teach, and I teached a few, taught a few, every monograph, again, that I wrote. I gotta say that twice because it's hard. Sorry. Every podcast episode that I record is all backed by study, by practice, by sacrifice, and by genuine love for the people that I serve. I also want to say this for the person who is watching and thinking about either going into this field, or for the person that has been dismissing their own calling because it seems too hard or too expensive or too late. It is not too late. It is never too late. It doesn't matter how old you are, because there are still people in school at 100 years old still trying to fulfill their calling, or there's people who are just now stepping out at almost 60 years old and doing what God is asking of them. And the cost of not doing it is a lot higher than the cost of doing it. God has a way of making a path when you say yes to the thing He placed in you. And I'm living proof of that. Not perfectly, definitely not without struggle, but proof nonetheless. So, now that you know who I am, where I came from, let me explain what I actually do. Because I get this question all the time, or people look at me sideways. Whatever. People will see my bio and they say, okay, so what does that mean? Like, what are you saying? What do you actually do when someone comes to you? And that's a fair question. So I'll break it down here for you guys. When someone comes to work with me, we start with the whole picture. I don't just look at one thing. I look at what you eat, or how you sleep, what stress looks like for you, what your labs say, what your spiritual life looks like, because that's important as well. What your family history is, what symptoms you've been carrying, sometimes for years. Those symptoms are the ones that no one has been able to give you a straight answer about. Because here's what I learned. The body does not exist in isolated systems. Your gut affects your hormones, and your hormones affects your mood affects your sleep affects your inflammation affects your joints, your brain, your heart. Everything is connected. And when you treat one piece in isolation without looking at the whole, you might get temporary relief, but you will not get root cause healing. This is the core difference between what I do and what most people do, and what most people are used to experiencing. I'm not trying to manage your symptoms. I'm trying to understand why they exist. And I mean real life detective work. I do this through different tools. I offer functional lab analysis where we go beyond the basic blood work that your doctor or I orders and looks at your labs through optimal wellness lens. Not just the disease detection lens. There's a significant difference between your numbers are in normal range and your numbers reflect a body that's starving. I'm interested in the latter. From there, I build a personalized protocol that includes nutritional support, which is specific foods and nutrients your body is asking for. Herbal support, carefully selected plant medicines appropriate for your constitution, your specific body, and your goals. That's lifestyle recommendations, that's spiritual and emotional considerations, that's future steps for continued care. So, this is not a generic plan that I print out for everyone. This takes hours of research, cross-referencing, writing, and care because you are not generic. And your healing plan should not be either. These protocols are not one size fits all. They are specifically for you and for you only. I just felt I need to say that. So I also offer individual and group coaching, community programs, through Soul Care Squad, workshops, educational content, and what we're talking about today, which is the annual Herbal Study membership. Everything I do is faith-centered. That does not mean I quote scripture at you during every session if that's not what you need. It means that my value system, my ethic of care, and the way I see humans is rooted in the belief that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And that the earth that God created carries medicines within it for healing of its people. For the healing of its people. So in Jeremiah 17:14, it says, "Heal me, Lord, and I will be healed." Ezekiel 47:12 talks about trees whose leaves are for healing. Revelation 22:2. There's a biblical foundation for plant medicine that most people have never been taught. And that is part of what I'm here to unpack. Hey, we're going to take a quick pause. And I mean, it's a good one, so stick with me. If today's session is hitting home for you, if you're realizing that your mind, your body, or your spirit has been running on empty for way too long, I want you to know that you don't have to figure this out alone. At the Soul Care Squad, I walk alongside people just like you through faith-based soul care and holistic wellness, mind, body, spirit, and soul. Whether you need a space to breathe, a community to heal in, or a real holistic support with your health, we've got something for you. Here's what we offer at the Soul Care Squad. 1. One-on-one soul care and holistic wellness coaching, which is personalized to you or your root causes. Functional lab analysis. We go beyond the basics and find out what is actually going on in your body. Herbal support, nutritional protocols, and lifestyle guidance, all through faith-centered lens. And a growing community of people who are doing this work together because wholeness is better in community. You can find free resources, current offerings, and ways to connect at soulcaresquad.com. And if you're on social media, come find us, Soul Care Squad, on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We also have a free 15-minute soul care starter session so we can get to know each other and find out if we're a good fit. No pressure, no hard sell, just a real conversation about your wellness journey. Links are in the show notes. Now, let's get back to the session. All right, I want to teach you something today. And I mean, really teach you, not a real version, not a caption with bullet points, a real teaching. And I want to talk about the Herbal monograph. If you ever study herbalism formally, you know exactly what that is. If you have not, this might be one of those most valuable things I can introduce you to. Because understanding what a monograph is will completely change how you approach plant medicine, and it will also help you understand why what I do is different from the average person with a podcast and a supplement affiliate link. So, what is an herbal monograph? Well, I'll tell you. In its simplest form, a monograph is a comprehensive, structured document that provides everything a clinical practitioner needs to understand a single herb, one plant, all the way down to its roots. Literally, no pun intended. Think of it as the plant's complete clinical file. If an herb were a patient, the monograph would be their full history, physical exam, lab work, and care plan all in one document. So I'm going to walk you through that monograph and what it includes because it is so important. So What a clinical herbal monograph includes is, first, botanical name. That's the Latin classification of the plant. This matters because common names vary by region and language. Turmeric is understood in English, but curcuma longa is understood everywhere in science. Another thing is the plant family and taxonomy, where the plant sits in the broader plant kingdom. This helps predict behavior and constituent similarities with related species. Another thing that is included in it is the parts that are used, which part of the plant contains the medicinal constituents. Is it the root, the leaf, the flower, the bark, the seed, or resin? This changes everything about how you prepare and you dose it. Another thing that you could find on the monograph is the active constituents, right? So that's the chemical compounds responsible for the plant's therapeutic effects. For turmeric, that includes curcuminoids, volatile oils, and more. Understanding constituents tells you how the plant works mechanically in the body. Energetics, this is one of the more nuanced parts of the herbal practice. Energetics refers to the plant's qualities. Is it warming or cooling? Is it drying or moistening? Is it stimulating or relaxing? This affects which person and which condition the herb is most suited for. Not everyone needs the same herb, even if they have the same diagnosis. So when we're recommending the same thing for everybody, sometimes it may not work the same for another person. And we'll get into that a little bit later. Another thing that's in the monograph is the actions. What the herb does in the body. Is it anti-inflammatory, adaptogenic, carminative, hepatoprotective, immunomodulating? These are clinical terms that describe the plant's therapeutic mechanisms. I was almost there. I almost made it. Another thing on the monographs is the indications. It's the conditions, symptoms, or states for which this herb is appropriate. This is where you match the plant to the person. Contraindications. This is so critical, and I cannot stress this enough. This is for who should not use the herb. It's the drug interactions, the contraindicated conditions. It's pregnancy and lactation considerations. It's safety with medications. An herbalist who does not know the contraindications of a plant should not be recommending it. I will repeat that because this is so important, because this is why we have a lot of different beliefs about certain herbs, because people don't know what they're doing. To say that, I guess gently. So, an herbalist who does not know the contraindications of a plant should not be recommending it. That is including people that is selling all of these teas or, these tinctures and this stuff like that. A lot of the times people are just selling it to make money because they know that's where the money is, I guess, for some. Another thing is preparations. That's different ways this herb can be made and administered. So it could be the teas, the decoctions, tinctures, capsules, poultices, salves, and culinary preparations, to name a few. Each method extracts different constituents and delivers different potency. Another thing that you'll see on the monograph is dosing considerations. That's how much, how often, for how long. This depends on the form of preparation, the individual's health status, because somebody who is a small adult, they won't need as much of the herb as someone who may be 150 pounds or over. Children definitely do not receive the dosage of adults. And it's also the goal of the protocol. The last thing that you'll see on the monograph are the safety notes. That's any additional red flags, precautions, or monitoring considerations a practitioner should be aware of. This part of the monograph should be taken serious along with the contraindications part, because it will determine should you use it for the person or not. So now here's what I want you to sit with for a moment. and please hear me, writing a complete, accurate, clinically sound monograph for a single herb takes hours. And it took me hours. Sometimes it takes days if you're doing it properly. You're pulling from peer-reviewed research. You're pulling from historical texts, from clinical case studies, from pharmacology, from traditional uses across multiple cultures. You're cross-referencing everything. You're not just copying from a website. You're synthesizing information from multiple sources and organizing it in a way that can actually be used in a practice. So, as a seasoned clinical herbalist has done this or studied existing monographs in this depth for dozens, sometimes hundreds of plants, and I mean hundreds of plants. The American Herbalist Guild requires demonstrated competency with the significant materia medica, which is what it is when you have a collection of the monographs. And they do this before granting registration. So this is not light work. People don't just become registered herbalists because they know 2 herbs or because they decided that's what they want to be. Like, it takes work. And I'm telling you this so that you understand what I'm bringing when I say that I'm a clinical herbalist. I'm not making recommendations based on what I read on a wellness blog. I'm making recommendations based on botanical science, clinical evidence, traditional use, and a formal education that I sacrifice real time, again money, and energy to obtain. And I'm bringing that level of knowledge directly to you for free in golden glory. Because I believe you deserve to understand these plants the same way I do. I want to talk about why. Because the what and the how only matter if you understand the why. I grew up in a world where healthcare was not something that felt accessible to everyone in my family or in my environment, I guess. We were going to the let's try that again. We're going to the doctor sometimes meant waiting for hours, getting a few minutes of someone's attention, leaving with a prescription that you may or may not be able to afford, and still not really understanding what's happening to your body. It's where natural remedies were passed down quietly in the kitchen in whispered knowledge of grandmothers, but no one ever explained the science behind them. And then there was my own body. For years, I dealt with symptoms that no one could give me answers about. I went to doctors. I described what I was experiencing, and over again, the message I received sometimes said outright, or sometimes communicated through a rushed appointment and a generic recommendation. It's what I was dealing with, and it was as if what I was dealing with was not serious enough to investigate. I was told that my numbers were in range, normal range, that I should just monitor it, or that my numbers were high, and then I did more tests, and then we still came up with absolutely nothing. I felt I was being managed, not heard, not truly helped either. Definitely not helped. And a lot of the time, as an adult, over the past few years, I've been spending out money because I haven't had health insurance. So I know that I'm not the only one that's going through it. Like, it's hard out here. But that frustration sent me searching. And that searching sent me to herbalism, to nutrition, to functional health, to root causes that conventional medicine was not trained to look for, because a lot of the time they're trained to just give you a prescription because it's supposed to be a medical drug that helps. Whatever. The further I went, the more I realized that what I had been experiencing, the dismissals, the symptom management without explanation, the lack of real answers, it was not unique to just me. It's the experience of millions of people, particularly Black women, particularly low-income communities, particularly people of faith who want a healthcare approach that honors all of who they are, not just their lab values. And that is who I'm here for. I'm here for the women who have been told her symptoms are anxiety when something deeper is happening hormonally. I'm here for the family trying to make holistic choices on a tight budget without getting ripped off by supplement marketing. Excuse me. I'm here for the person who wants to use herbs but does not know where to start or who to trust. I'm here for the believer who senses that God put medicine in the earth for a reason, but has never had anyone to teach them how to access them. Because you know how it's not really in the South, but where I'm from, herbs and, being a believer, they don't really mix. And a lot of it is due to misinformation. But that's why I'm here, to help you become informed, right? And because I believe access matters, I spent years doing a significant amount of this work for free, for low costs, or on sliding scales. I did free community wellness talks, free resources on my websites. I have free content every single week on social media. I have free studies like the one we're launching today. And I also offer a free 15-minute consultation so people can find out if we are a fit before spending a single dollar. Not because I do not value my time, because I surely do. Not because I don't have bills, because we all have bills. But because I fundamentally believe that your ability to understand your own body should not be determined by the size of your bank account. Healthcare is a human right. To me, knowledge is a human right, and I have knowledge that can help someone live better, or heal deeper, or steward their body more wisely. I have a responsibility before God to share it. In Ezekiel 47:12, it says, "The leaves of the tree shall be for healing." In Revelation 22, it echoes it. This was not an accident. God planted medicine in the earth before we ever got sick enough to need them. Because he'd be knowing. And part of my calling, my actual God-given calling, is to help people find their way back to those medicines and to back themselves. And back to themselves. And that is the why. It's always been the why. Okay, so with all that context, which is a lot, with you understanding who I am, what I study, how I practice, and why I do this, I want to introduce you to something I have been building with intention. And that is the annual Herbal Study membership in our very first study, Golden Glory. So here's the vision. Every year through the Soul Care Squad, we're going to take one herb and we're going to study it the way an herbalist studies it. Not a surface level overview, a real clinical, grounded, deep dive. The kind of study that changes how you approach that plant forever. We're starting with turmeric, and we're calling it Golden Glory because the plant is golden in every sense of the word. Turmeric has been used medicinally for over 4,000 years. It shows up in Ayurvedic medicine, in traditional Chinese medicine, in African healing traditions, in Caribbean home remedies, and now in every supplement aisle, in every health food store in the country. Most people have heard of it. Most people have probably used it in food. Very few people truly understand it. Golden Glory is a 4-week study every Monday at 6:30 p.m. and new lesson drops. Every Monday at 6:30 p.m. a new lesson drops, and you don't want to miss it. And luckily for you, it'll be available in 3 different formats. The first one is a full written article for those of you who like to read. The next one is a podcast episode for those of you who like to listen on the go. And the last one is a YouTube video for those of you who learn best visually and those who want to see me mess up. Because when you're listening, you can hear pauses, but when you're watching, you can see the faces that I make. So you decide. You pick how you want to engage every single week. Here's what we're covering across the 4 weeks. In week 1, the history and energetics of turmeric. This is where we start understanding where this plant came from, how it's been used across cultures, and what its energetic qualities tell us about how it wants to work in the body. And of course, you'll receive your very own turmeric monograph. For those that are on Facebook right now, this is what it looks like. It's basically 5 pages, and you'll receive it in your email, or you'll be able to download it straight from the blog. Your herbalist style reference guide. It is your herbalist style reference guide for the entire study. So I want you to utilize it. I want you to get to know what a monograph looks like. I want you to immerse yourself in what turmeric is and how it's used, not just what you hear somebody else say, and not just what the newspaper articles have said about it. I want you to really get to know it. So in week 2, we're going to focus on how turmeric works in the body, and that's a focus on inflammation and digestion. This is where the science gets fascinated. We will talk about curcumin, what it actually does, how bioavailability works, and how you take it, and how and why how you take it matters as much as whether you take it. Week 3, we're going to focus on the preparations and dosings. Again, that's the tea, decoctions, tinctures, golden milk, capsules, culinary use, to name a few. And how do you prepare the herb first? Excuse me. And how you prepare this herb for a specific outcome you want. Because the preparation method changes the potency and the application entirely. In week 4, safety contraindications and building your daily turmeric practice. Who should be cautious with this herb? Drug interactions you need to know about, and how to create simple, sustainable daily remedies using turmeric in your real life. Recipes are included throughout the study. Again, it's free to start, and if you want to go deeper, the annual herbal study membership exists for that. Right now, we'll just be collecting emails, and we'll definitely be reaching out when the actual pay portion is available to you guys, because I want to make sure that it's done in decency and in order. So for Golden Glory, the registration link is in the show notes. It's in the description, and it's in my bio. So please go register. Well, go register because you want to. And I know you want to. Right now, before the end of the episode. Because week 1 is coming literally on Monday, and I don't want you to miss it. Now, before I close, I want to make sure you know how to find me and how we can work together if Golden Glory sparks something in you and you're ready to go deeper. Everything I do is under 2 homes. It's the Soul Care Squad, which is my nonprofit, and it's focused on faith-based soul care, holistic wellness, community, and spiritual growth. And then there's Holistic Herbal Wellness, which is my for-profit practice where I work with individuals one-on-one on their health. Here's what I currently offer. We'll step into the free 15-minute soul care starter session. If you've been watching or listening and something in you is saying, I think I need to talk to her, start here. It's free. It's a real conversation, not a sales pitch. We talk about where you are, what you're dealing with, and whether working together makes sense. The link is in the show notes. Another thing we offer is functional blood lab analysis and holistic, not diagnosis. So, functional blood lab analysis. This is my signature investigative service. You get your lab done, or you bring previous labs within the last 3 months. I review them through an optimal wellness lens and build your personalized protocol. This includes nutritional support, herbal support, lifestyle recommendations, and future considerations. We go looking for root causes, not just abnormal values. This is available as a standalone service, and it's included in my longer coaching programs. Another thing we offer is holistic nutrition coaching programs. These are my longer term one-on-one programs. They can be 8-week, 4 months, up to 8 months of personalized support for my health goals, for your health goals. We build your wellness plan together. We track your progress. We adjust as your body responds. And these programs are where the real transformation happens. Another one we already talked about, which is the annual Herbal Study membership. Your access to Golden Glory and every future herb study we add to the membership. You start free with the monthly study content or upgrade for deeper resources, study materials, and community support. That is coming. I will be sending emails when it does, so please join up for our newsletter so that you can be the first to know about it. Another thing that will be doing or focusing on or offering is the Soul Care Squad community. So you'll be able to get free resources. This is for events, prayer circles, group coaching, Bible studies, and a growing community of people who are doing the work for caring for their whole selves. Find us on social media at soulcaresquad.com. And I'll say it again. I believe in access. A lot of what I offer is free or low cost because this is a value I hold deeply. But for those of you who are ready for the personalized, in-depth support, I'm here for that too. Everything is in the show notes. Come find me. I'm not hard to reach, and I genuinely love hearing from the people who listen to and watch this content. All right. If you made it to the end of this one, I love you for that. For real, like not for fake, like in real life. And I know it was a longer episode, and I know we covered a lot, but I wanted you to know me, not just what I post, not just my credentials, not just the services I offer, me, where it came from, what it costs, what I believe, what I'm, who I'm doing this for, what I'm doing this for. Because I'm not just trying to build an audience. I'm trying to build a community. A place where people can come, learn something real, feel safe asking questions, and actually walk away better than they came. Golden Glory is the next step in that. It's an invitation to learn alongside me, to understand one plant so well that you start to see how the rest of herbalism works. To see yourself not as someone who is at the mercy of your health, but as someone who has tools, has knowledge, and has community behind them. So, register for Golden Glory. The link is in the description and in my bio, like I said earlier. Please subscribe to this podcast, and if you're on YouTube, subscribe to this channel so you never miss a session. And if this episode spoke to you, share it with somebody. You might be the reason someone finds their way to healing today. Okay, that's it. I will see you in the next session, and until then, stay aligned, steward your body, and take care of your soul. Bye.